So welcome to the New Jersey Climate Change Resource Center's Winter Climate Academy webinar on reducing the climate footprint of New Jersey's commercial and industrial facilities, focusing on how these commercial industrial sector can save energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. My name is Marjorie Kaplan, and I am both Associate Director of the Rutgers Climate Institute, and along with my colleague Jean Herb of the Edward Blaustein School of Planning and Public Policy, I co-direct the New Jersey Climate Change Resource Center. A few logistics. Today's webinar will last until 1 o'clock. Other than today's presenters and our Rutgers team, you're all muted. So to communicate with us, please type your questions into the chat box. And to find it, just look at the bottom of the screen and you'll see this little bubble. It says chat. And if you click there, you can send us questions and comments. And please send your notes to all panelists. And that ensures all of us working behind the scenes today will see your questions. And I want to thank my colleagues, Matt Drews and Dr. Carrie Ferraro here at Rutgers for their help with today's webinar. We welcome your thoughts, your questions, and I want to let you know we're recording today's webinar and it will be available on the New Jersey Climate Change Resource Center website, which we have put into the chat. We're very pleased to present today's webinar by John Sousa and Ivelisse Perez. This is the last in the three-part series on climate change and energy for New Jersey. You can find the first two webinars in the series on the website noted in the chat box. So a little bit about our speakers today. John Sousa serves as an outreach account manager for the healthcare, multifamily, commercial real estate, and data center verticals by recruiting and engaging commercial and industrial customers and contracts in all of the New Jersey Clean Energy programs. He's a Rutgers graduate. He has a master's in business and science, and he's also an alumnus of our Coastal Climate Risk and Resilience Initiative. And so we're super happy to have him. And he's been a graduate assistant with us on Rutgers Climate Resiliency and Sustainability Studies for the New Jersey Department of Military and Veteran Affairs and the City of Newark. And John is also going to be joined by his colleague, Ivelisse Perez. Ivelisse is the bilingual energy efficiency outreach account manager with TRC on behalf of New Jersey's Clean Energy Program. And Ivelisse educates minority-owned business owners, nonprofits, faith-based groups, community and environmental organizations about state incentive opportunities for energy efficiency. Ivelisse is a physical geographer and she's worked on conservation education projects in Puerto Rico, with the DNER there, with the U.S. Forest Service in New Jersey, and with the National Park Service. And she happens to be a consulting utility forester as well. So it's now my pleasure to invite John and Ivelisse to turn on their camera and their microphone and take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan and Dr. Ferraro for coordinating this event and this great energy efficiency series. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. All right. So as Marjorie mentioned, my name is John Sousa, and my colleague Ivelisse and I represent New Jersey's Clean Energy Program as outreach account managers for New Jersey's commercial and industrial sectors. I'm grateful to be part of a professional and dedicated team of outreach professionals who serve both as educators and program triage specialists, helping to inform all ratepayers of New Jersey about the energy efficiency incentives offered through the Clean Energy Program, and also assist end users throughout the application and project process. Ivelisse and I are 2 of 3 vertical or sector-specific outreach account managers. We also have 4 other regional account managers who cover general outreach within their specified territories. I handle the outreach for healthcare, multifamily, and data sectors. And as a military veteran, I have recently begun a campaign to engage veteran business owners throughout the state. So our job is to provide regular presentations, lunch and learns, and informational sessions to a wide variety of business, community, and municipal organizations. And we also engage building owners, business owners, and facility managers on how our programs can help them become more efficient, save money, and ultimately have a positive impact on the environment. So we'll be covering quite a bit of information during the next 30 or so minutes, and we don't expect you all to become experts in the program after today, but Ivelisse and I hope you do walk away with being more well-versed on our suite of programs and gain some insight as to how our outreach efforts aim to create a stronger, fairer, and more sustainable New Jersey. Ivelisse has some wonderful information to share later in the presentation about her focused outreach efforts, and which have been very successful in broadening the scope of the Clean Energy Program to reach underserved and Spanish-speaking populations throughout the state. So in the first webinar of the series, Christine Sadovi did an excellent job providing a complete background of the program. So I won't get too much into detail on background, but feel free to ask any questions in the chat box if you want to gain more insight. But for the condensed version, New Jersey's Clean Energy Program is administered by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, and the BPU is the agency that oversees all regulated utilities while also addressing consumer protection and energy reform. Funding for the Clean Energy Program is provided through the societal benefits charge that ratepayers will find on their investor-owned utility bill. Along with helping residents and businesses save money, these incentive programs have an obvious positive impact on the environment, lowering emissions and helping the state meet its goal of 100% clean energy by 2050, as published in New Jersey's Energy Master Plan. So our energy conservation and energy efficiency programs help building owners limit the amount of energy consumed, resulting in additional cost savings and helping to build a more sustainable energy future for the state. For added energy resiliency, we also offer specific programs related to distributed energy, such as combined heat and power and fuel cell technologies. And all of our energy savings and efficiency programs act as the first step, allowing for the better integration of renewable energy technologies like wind and solar. So the Clean Energy Act of 2018 set the stage for the creation of specific energy goals as outlined in New Jersey's Energy Master Plan, and provides guidance for the Clean Energy Program. The Energy Master Plan serves as a roadmap to achieve New Jersey's ambitious energy goals, and this document is closely monitored by all industries in New Jersey, helping identify how they can help support New Jersey's collective energy targets. The most recent iteration of the EMP was published last year and as a result of significant stakeholder engagement. 7 main strategies are addressed within this comprehensive plan, serving as a roadmap to achieve New Jersey's clean energy goals. And these goals include 100% clean energy by 2050, a large reduction in carbon emissions, and to ultimately promote a stronger and fairer New Jersey. And this last element addresses the need for economic, social, and environmental equity through energy conservation and resiliency. Ultimately, our outreach efforts align with these strategies to help organizations become more efficient in their energy use. Along with our education, our job is to provide a concierge service to help guide contractors and end users alike to the programs that best fit their needs. It's important to realize that the money contained within these programs is in the form of incentives and are available to all ratepayers. Now I'll share some metrics from our past fiscal year. In fiscal year 20, we processed over 140,000 applications, resulting in around $145 million in paid incentives. These energy savings were delivered and realized through efficiencies in electricity, gas, and oil consumption, as well as other forms of electricity generation. Having a background in environmental science and sustainability myself, this is one of my favorite slides because it shows the tangible benefits of our initiatives. The amount of CO2 emissions saved from our program during the last fiscal year equate to over 159,000 cars removed from our roadways and over 12 million trees planted. The big takeaway here is that the amount of greenhouse gases eliminated has an obvious impact in furthering a more sustainable energy future for our state. And how we achieve these results is through a wide range of programs offered within the New Jersey Clean Energy portfolio. As you can see with this graphic, we have 5 different buckets of programs. Our TREC solar registration program, offshore wind development, and community solar initiatives are contained within the renewable energy bucket. The Clean Energy Program also provides various grants, workforce development opportunities, and other initiatives related to energy efficiency through specialized energy efficiency programs. Mine and Ivellisse's work is primarily focused on the 3rd bucket, and we will go into more depth on these various programs, which are catered to businesses, nonprofits, schools, and government entities. Combined heat and power, battery storage, and other resilient and emerging energy technologies are found within New Jersey Clean Energy's distributed energy resources section. But before we dive into these programs, I would like to discuss the transition happening with these programs. Between April and July, some of these programs will begin to be run by local utilities, and I will get into that. But as it stands, all programs that we will be discussing today are still accepting applications until June 30th, which is the end of the next this fiscal year. And whatever gets approved by then will be seen through, and the incentives will be paid. So once the transition begins, a portion of both the C&I and residential energy efficiency programs are transitioning to be managed by the investor-owned utility companies as mandated by the 2018 Clean Energy Act signed by Governor Murphy. As you can see here, both C&I and residential existing building programs and efficient product programs are transitioning to the management of utilities, while the rest will stay with New Jersey's Clean Energy Program. The Act requires utility companies reduce their customers' use of natural gas and electricity by set percentages over the next 5 years. So as you can see, the C&I portfolio is split further into 4 sections, and we're going to talk about them one by one. But before we dive into the details of each program, I would like to point out the green box in the lower part of the slide, which is a reminder about our new enhanced incentives available for most of our C&I programs. Depending on where the facility is located, its ownership, or its utilization, the project may be eligible for enhanced incentives. So I'll now hand it over to Ivelisse to talk a bit more about enhanced incentives and her focused outreach campaign.
Thank you, John, for this wonderful overview of the program. I will tell you a little bit about myself and my verticals throughout the state in the next couple of slides, but I want to stop here one moment to talk about enhanced incentives. If I were to describe enhanced incentive with a metaphor, I would say that it's nothing but sprinkles on the ice cream or the cherry on top, through either more financial incentives or program modifications to increase participation and energy savings. Like John mentioned, these enhanced incentives have differently eligibility criteria based on their geography, their ownership, or their utilization. If eligible for enhanced incentives, they have different expressions through all of our programs, and you're going to find out about that later. But I want to highlight enhanced incentives based on geography and utilization. If facilities that we're working on are designated not necessarily certified in an urban enterprise zone or an opportunity zone, they might be they are eligible for these enhanced incentives, and similarly with affordable housing. These are definitely impactful components of these programs, as these zones, the UECs, foster an economic climate that revitalizes designated urban communities and stimulates their growth. And the opportunity zones are low-income, rural, and urban communities, as well as affordable housing facilities that are based on income eligibility. Now I will get to tell you a little bit about some of the tools that I've used and the initial strategies that I've completed so far. But I want to highlight that our outreach team has been doing an amazing job to get the word out there about the program that the state has. In the preparation of this event, John asked me a very cool question. What is equity in the context of clean energy? But my brain goes wandering around, and I thought of this counter question: who defines equity and the work around it? I should say that efforts are underway, and equity working groups have recently started working together to identify the different needs. Before the legislation to create the Office of Clean Energy Equity was in place, our team already identified the need to reach out to Hispanic business owners with outreach done specifically in the language Spanish. While I'm not from New Jersey, I do have some ties with my family being part of the Puerto Rican diaspora. But that only makes me a little bit aware of the small pockets of areas within the state that I know of. So as a geographer, I decided to undertake into a small geospatial analysis and did a simple ArcGIS Online exercise to properly identify the distribution of the Hispanic community throughout the state. I will tell you, I used the latest American Community Survey data, specifically the portion of the population who stated their main language as Spanish by census tract. And for these, I was only interested in the population between 18 to 64 years old, who are the people that are most likely have businesses ownership. This data was used in the map on the left, and in the map on the right, I wanted to just see an overlay of the Hispanics and their density in these enhanced incentive zone to build from there my different strategies for outreach work. And the next slide, yes, thank you, John. Like John mentioned, this has been a snowball effect, and I also wanted to include other historically underserved communities, minorities, to these outreach efforts. To give you an idea, New Jersey's Clean Energy Program did not have membership or presence to these minority chambers. There was a lot of work that I had to do, identifying different chambers and organizations around these communities. I'm just listing here the most predominant with a reach of business owners throughout the state. But I have a list of 36 organizations I've been in contact with, building those relationships and participating and sponsoring their events and making sure that their constituents know about Clean Energy Program. This is just to give you an idea, these photos on the left, to perform outreach, what it's been to perform outreach work during this pandemic. Lots of Zoom meetings and calls, events, presentations, but with a constant presence throughout all minority business owners associations and chambers. In the next slide, thank you. Another component of equity is making sure that the population we're trying to serve has access to our programs in their main language. I was finally able to find a good vendor that would translate our materials to an universal Spanish tailored to the Hispanics of this region in New Jersey. We've been translating our most pertinent collateral into Spanish and having them with a location in our website. Additionally, I needed a piece tailored to small business owners, so we basically drafted a piece to the programs that are most likely to be of interest and the programs that are tailored for these smaller facilities. This piece is currently being translated into Spanish, and my next phase will be providing a full Spanish workshop of New Jersey's Clean Energy Program that serves most to small to medium-sized businesses. You'll get to know later in the presentation what those programs really are and the impact they've had. Now we're going to start discussing what New Jersey's Clean Energy Program really means for the commercial and industrial sector of New Jersey. Knowledge is power, and the same goes for energy. It can often be a challenge to determine a path forward to become more efficient in a business energy use. That's where our energy benchmarking and audits program come into place. Energy benchmarking is our first assessment program that serves as a useful first step in the path to energy efficiency. This is a free service which utilizes an online tool to evaluate the total energy performance of your building in comparison to similar facilities within the same sector or industry around the country. Thank you. The resulting score and detailed report will provide valuable information as to how the building can save on operating costs by implementing energy saving technologies. The financial incentives associated with our specific programs will also be outlined within this report. Also, within this bucket of our portfolio is the local government energy audit program, which is just as it sounds. It is available to local governments, but also colleges, universities, and nonprofits. This comprehensive ASHRAE Level 2 energy audit involves a facility inspection, assessment of all energy-related equipment, and an analysis of total energy consumption. That data is then evaluated, and a report will be created, which identifies energy efficiency and conservation opportunities. This energy audit is free, and it definitely will provide a wealth of information about applicable programs and technologies, in addition to identifying valuable cost savings. Both benchmarking and the LGEA program have our measurement audits bucket. And now John is going to expand a little bit more about our comprehensive programs within our portfolio, and he will definitely illustrate what those means and the impact they've had with some really cool success stories. John?
Thanks, Ivelisse. So the measures and audit programs that Ivelisse just went over are really important in determining where for a business to begin and what projects would be most beneficial in terms of energy efficiency and cost savings over time. The next step is to use that information to determine which energy efficiency programs would be a best fit. So let's start with our comprehensive programs, which allow building owners to bundle multiple technologies and receive incentives based upon the project as a whole. It's important to note that when bundling multiple technologies like HVAC, lighting, and water conservation measures with our comprehensive programs, the energy savings and total incentives are normally higher when compared to our single measure rebate program. Starting with the program catered to the highest energy consumers, our large energy user program, or LEUP, is available for large C&I buildings with an annual average peak energy demand equal or over 400 kilowatt hours. To qualify for this program, the building must have paid at least $5 million in utility bills from the previous year. And this program has been used by large hospitals and college campuses and is most appropriate for large organizations with large campuses or multiple buildings. These projects also often include energy resiliency measures like combined heat and power and fuel cell technologies. So let's look at a success story for our large energy user program. So I'd be remiss if I didn't include Rutgers in this presentation. And with multiple campuses throughout the state, Rutgers University has ambitious energy conservation goals. Rutgers undertook a project which included upgrades in lighting, occupancy sensors, and HVAC systems. The resulting energy savings, in addition to the incentives paid that we provided, allowed for a project payback period of just over a year. So our next program is in the comprehensive bucket is the Pay for Performance program. And the target audience for this program is also larger facilities like hospitals or schools with average annual peak energy demands over 200 kilowatts. This is currently our only comprehensive program for new construction and is available for projects that exceed 50,000 square feet of planned conditioned space. Pay for Performance is our most holistic, data-driven comprehensive program. With P4P, the building owner will work directly with one of our vetted contractors to develop an energy reduction plan that factors in the building's baseline energy performance and their organization's energy efficiency goals. This is a true whole building approach to energy efficiency, incorporating building envelope measures such as insulation and window treatments in combination with equipment upgrades in order to achieve specific energy saving targets. What's great about this program is that the pre-approved contractor will help walk the applicant through the process, helping fill out the application, developing an energy efficiency plan, and installing the equipment. Our vetted and approved list of contractors is available on our website. So in order to become eligible for Pay for Performance, 2 or more energy efficiency measures must be planned that result in more than 15% energy savings in order to achieve the maximum incentives. So this flow chart here gives a bit more detail into the process. And because the program involves an extensive verification process, as you can see later in the timeline, it is important that the end user is able to work with a time frame of around 2 to 3 years for the project. The total incentives are split up into 3 payments, which correspond to the project milestones, starting with the approval of an energy reduction plan, the next upon verification of the installed measures, and the last payment occurring after these savings are verified. Buildings located within urban enterprise zones or opportunity zones are also eligible for enhanced incentives, increasing incentive payments number 2 and 3 to 40% of the total project costs. Now let's highlight 2 success stories from the Pay for Performance program. This is a multifamily high-rise building located in Jersey City that used the P4P program to realize energy savings of more than 1 megawatt hour of electricity and 1,800 million BTUs of natural gas per year. These energy efficiency measures resulted in a fairly short payback period for this project of 1.5 years. This last success story highlights another prominent enterprise here in New Jersey. Bayer successfully completed the construction of a massive office complex back in 2013 and utilized Pay for Performance to install LED lighting fixtures, HVAC units, variable frequency drive pumps, and also took advantage of low emissivity glass to improve the building's envelope. The incentives for this project exceeded $1 million and resulted in a payback period for this new construction project of 6 years. So on to our next and probably most popular program, Direct Install. Direct Install, we call it our turnkey program that works well for your average small or mid-sized business. Like Pay for Performance, the end user will partner with a participating contractor. And in the case of Direct Install, these are regional Direct Install contractors. Applicants may also be able to use their own contractor outside of our pre-selected contractor list. They would just have to abide by our program requirements. Our registered contractors will conduct a no-cost walkthrough of the facility, create an energy plan that reflects the specific needs of the client, and this same contractor will handle all the installation. So as you can see, this program is relatively hands-off. But one of the most attractive aspects of Direct Install is definitely the savings. Up to 70% of the project costs are covered with this program, and these incentives increase to up to 80% if the project qualifies for our enhanced incentives. Again, this includes buildings located in urban enterprise zones, opportunity zones, operated by a county or municipal government, K-12 school, or affordable housing facility. What's great about Direct Install is that the customer simply pays the contractor the remaining cost of the project after the incentives. So all labor and material costs have been pre-negotiated with the contractors and suppliers. So let's look at a few success stories for direct install. So the next two slides here highlight an example of a multifamily building that maxed out on their annual incentive cap of $250,000 for 2 direct install projects. Energy efficiency incentives reaching $125,000 for each project resulted in annual energy savings of around $20,000 respectively. The Winslow apartment complex boasts a brand new state-of-the-art gas-fired boiler, integrated water source heat pumps, and added pipe insulation measures. Additionally, upgrades in lighting and low flow aerators contribute to significant energy savings and a relatively short payback period. So using direct install, this facility, Eastpoint Sports, was able to upgrade their HVAC equipment to a high efficiency system with integrated controls. The incentives and subsequent energy savings resulted in also a short payback period for this project. So on to our last comprehensive program in our portfolio, the Customer Tailored Energy Efficiency Program, or CTEEP for short. This program allows for streamlining of the application process for multiple single measure rebates. So the program works well when a building owner has plans for replacing multiple pieces of equipment and would simply like to receive the rebates for those technologies. The incentive values for this program are identical for those within the SmartStart program that Ivelisse will get into here in the next section.
Thank you, John, for summarizing the comprehensive bucket or comprehensive progress, I should say, of our bucket of portfolio and highlighting great success stories. In my opinion, anything less than 5-year payback period is a no-brainer since the useful life of most equipment is over 10 years, if we should say, put a number to it. Next, I'm going to talk about our single measure rebates program. And this program is called SmartStart Building. SmartStart is nothing but a single measure rebates program, and different than the comprehensive programs, facilities of all sizes and energy use are eligible to participate, whether they're looking to replace an equipment, do some remodeling, or got rehab renovation, or if they're looking to change of use of an existing facility, or simply they have a new construction project. How it works is fairly simple. There's a rebate attached to the energy efficient technology or equipment, I should say, and to incentivize installing that type of technology. There are 2 tracks for this program, which are prescriptive measures and custom design measures that I'm going to expand on shortly. There's a $500,000 incentive cap for each electric and gas account in any fiscal year, which is a really generous cap, and we don't really see a lot of people running into it. It is important to note that enhanced incentives are also available for replacing existing building equipment, and those can be up to double the amount of the incentive that you would normally get per technology. For custom design measures, the incentives are a little different, and they are calculated based on the lesser of the 3 categories, which is based on energy savings, install costs, or the payback period. SmartStart program is where you really get to cherry pick what you want to do, how much you want, and when you want it. So you can bundle multiple measures as you like, which is great. And I also like to mention that SmartStart building incentives are retroactive to 12 months. What this means is if someone want to install something in the past 12 months, they can get a rebate for that. In the next slide, thank you. Prescriptive is, I'm going to show you here what is prescriptive and custom and what that really means. Prescriptive is nothing but a list of certified energy efficient equipment from Energy Star or the DLC, the Design Light Consortium, on their website. And it tells you how energy efficient the equipment is. These are the technologies that we're incentivizing for you to install. And I should make a note that they all have their own application and have their own rate of incentive. Short and sweet, if you install any of these, you'll fill the application and will get the rebate check by mail. I should add here that due to a successful utilization of our enhanced incentives initiative, we've exhausted enhanced incentive for lighting project, but all the other technologies have doubled their rebates. Alternatively, the custom application is for measures not included here in the prescriptive or for emergent and efficient technology. You can still show cost-effective efficiency improvement. Because they're innovative technology, they will require inspections pre and post installment, and they definitely must need to exceed code for retrofit projects. And then I'm going to show you a few success stories. This is an affordable housing project that did an LED lighting upgrade. And if you pay attention to what the total project cost was and what the clean energy program paid in rebates, you'll be able to see how these state incentives are a no-brainer. I should add that their lighting rebates double because they were a designated affordable housing facility. And in the next slide, this is like a fun little new project that I've been undertaking. I'm not going to dissect this vertical today, as the nuances of the indoor agriculture and cannabis need their own workshop, but as of October of this year, fiscal year 21, so 2020, we've been conducting outreach efforts to this industry and getting as creative as possible to also maximize energy efficiency in this already energy thirsty sector. We're promoting a transition of legacy equipment that's proven inefficient to new and innovative technology to reduce energy consumption and optimize crop yield. And here, yes, Element Farms. However, I'm not going to show you our, oh my God. I'm going to show you this Element Farm success story and how these producers utilize clean energy program to install LEDs in their greenhouse. You can see the photo, how that project ended up like, very cool. This project came in through our CTEEP program that John mentioned earlier. But we have now our horticultural lighting incentive as part of our prescriptive via SmartStart. It's a growing market. We'll have more success stories to share soon, hopefully. Some projects are finalizing, and already a lot of interest from cannabis cultivators, but also from a few other startup vertical farm projects that I've been talking to that has a social and sustainability components throughout the state. Now, yes, I'm going to share quickly about distributed energy resources bucket. This bucket of our portfolio improves resiliency, such as combined heat and power for on-site generation, research in other emerging technologies, such as microgrid and battery development that the Board of Public Utilities and Clean Energy Program are pursuing. CHP is for customers who want a more efficient and useful means of on-site power generation. These units replace traditional internal combustion generators, which simply burns fuel to generate power. With these CHP systems, the heat that is usually lost after combustion can be used to heat the building, produce hot water, and even be utilized for sterilization purposes in the case of hospitals and labs. There's no qualification for size, and this technology greatly increases resiliency, allowing the building to remain online and heated during power outages. After Hurricane Sandy, hospitals in the state have realized the need for these resiliency measures and frequently taking advantage of our incentives. I'm going to show you a success story. This is a case study of combined heat and power. Is Jersey Shore University Medical Center, where the total project cost was around almost $4 million, and we paid $1 million incentives, bringing the payback period down to 1 year. That's another great example of how quick payback period through our program helping to cover the cost of the project. And now I just want to quickly talk a little bit about financing for government agencies, which is the Energy Savings Improvement Program, or ESIP, like we call it. ESIP provides alternative financing for energy efficiency projects for public institutions. This program is administered directly by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. And the way that it works is that it leverages the energy efficiency saving and puts that toward paying off this loan. The big win about this program is that the public institutions don't really need to do a referendum and get voter approval for these projects. Another good thing is that there is no upfront capital requirement, and it incorporates all incentives into from New Jersey's Clean Energy Program. And this is pretty much all of our C&I bucket, or I guess portfolio of programs within the large bucket of Clean Energy Program. And I wanted to point out a useful resource contained within our website. The Clean Energy Learning Center has both full-length energy efficiency courses related to our programs, as well as recordings of our past presentations. So you can check out our website and follow our newsletters to stay up to date. And that's all we have for today's presentation. Again, my name is Ivelisse, and I would like to thank everyone for participating in our webinar today. And also, I'd like to thank the Climate Change Resource Center for this Spring Climate Academy initiative and the opportunity to showcase New Jersey's clean energy program. Now, I guess we can take some questions if there are any, or if not, you can think them and type them in the chat box, and we'll be here to answer questions. And
Thank
definitely
you.
reach out to us. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ivelisse and John. This was very informative. I'm not going to invite we have some time to get to your questions, so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Carrie Ferraro, who has been monitoring the chat box. Folks can continue to send some questions, and she'll direct your questions to our speakers.
Thank you, Marjorie. And thank you so much, John and Ivelisse, for your wonderful presentations. This was great. You received many compliments in the chat about how well you described the various programs. There was a question about, given that there are millions of square feet of buildings in New Jersey, can you comment on basically what kind of the ultimate objective of the C&I programs are? Is it really to get momentum in this area and then hope other people will follow on, or?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, getting the momentum. I mean, a lot of businesses, especially those large energy users, take advantage of the programs because they see how much they spend in their energy bills. But also, our goal is to get the smaller mid-sized business to take advantage of these programs as well, and do things that will help them as business owners and ultimately help the state meet its goals of 100% clean energy by 2050, and to be more efficient in the energy use for the state.
Great, thank you. So our next question was about kind of this transition to the investor-owned utilities, and whether you guys have a sense of why this was chosen and how they decided which programs should be staying with the New Jersey Clean Energy Program and which ones should go to the utilities, excuse me.
Yeah, that's a bit above, I guess, our pay grade. But this was something, as I said, the Clean Energy Act, dictated by the Clean Energy Act of 2018. And it was established that so most of the existing building programs will be transferring to utilities, but the new construction programs will be staying with us. And I guess it's just what needs to happen for the utilities to, take a role in increasing energy efficiency at this point.
And I think, John, if you can pull up the landing page, we can show them where they can find more information around transition, definitely.
Sure.
Great. Well, while John's pulling that up, I'm going to pose a question to you, Ivelisse, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll share the link. That's what I'll do.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, that would be great. So was the legislation to create the Office of Clean Energy Equity part of the Clean Energy Act, or was that kind of a separate law, was a question?
That's a question I don't have a clear direct answer, but I know that the legislation to create the Office of Clean Energy just came through a couple of months ago. So I would say, like, it would be safe for me to say that it's different from the Clean Energy Act. It's a snowball effect of things. So yeah, I invite everyone to look into it. There's a Clean Energy Office of Clean Energy Equity law somewhere. If I can find it before this ends, I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. And so kind of a follow-up on that, sorry, while you're looking. So you mentioned the equity outreach groups, and can you tell us kind of who's involved in that? So in other words, are there local stakeholders involved? And are they the same people that are part of the minority-owned businesses that you mentioned?
They're just starting to get together, and it's stakeholder group meetings. So you'll have their community leaders, you'll have their utilities, because it's all utility and energy related. So you will have the clean energy program there. You will have the Office of Clean Energy deputy director, stakeholder, yeah, like I said, stakeholders from community organizations and utilities and business. So yeah, it's a soup of stakeholders.
Thank you. I love that equity was not officially defined and you're working together to describe that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So kind of moving on. So going back to some of these smaller businesses or nonprofit organizations. And so there's a question about kind of some of those businesses and smaller nonprofit organizations that don't have the bandwidth to engage in programs like that. So how would you advise somebody to really engage in these programs?
We've done, Ivelisse, you can probably correct me, a recent campaign to target not local nonprofits. And in terms of them reaching out, I mean, it can seem daunting, but for a small business or a nonprofit to start the process of getting on board with one of these programs. But the beauty of, especially the smaller programs like Direct Install or the audit program or even SmartStart, it's really something that can be done without expertise. And that's the goal of many of our programs, especially something like Direct Install. You're working with one of our vetted contractors. And with SmartStart, you know, going on the website and starting the process. And a lot of times we as in the outreach team, field a lot of the questions that smaller businesses or building owners might have, and help walk them through the process. So it doesn't require as much bandwidth as one might think.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful. So we had a question, sorry to go back and forth, but it just came in about whether the local government energy audit program will also be transferred into to the utilities. Do you know that, any chance?
That's a great question. And no, it's not going to be transferred to the utilities. It's going to be staying at New Jersey Board of Public Utilities office or our program, Clean Energy Program. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, on that link that I provided in the chat, you can see some exactly which programs are staying and going, and then a list of FAQs. And please ask questions through the website, because the FAQs are meant to be updated as we learn more about transition and what the programs will look like. We have very limited information at this point about that.
Thank you. So we had some questions about the incentive programs were designed and kind of the thresholds for who qualifies. So can you kind of explain how these incentive programs develop the thresholds for who qualifies?
That's an excellent question. In terms of how it was developed, I don't know if Ivelisse has some insight there. We tried to. My impression is the programs span the range of energy, peak energy demand. Our large energy users, above 400 kilowatt hours, that's quite high. And then, everything down to Direct Install, where, that's your small business. So in terms of why they were positioned that way, I don't know the answer, but we always tell people that, organizations we speak with, that there's a program fit for every size business, any multifamily. And then if you attended the last presentation with the residential team, there's programs, that fit homes. The only place where there's some nuances is multifamily. In some instances, multifamily could be on the residential side or commercial industrial, depending on the way it's metered, or sometimes both. So yeah, there's a program for every situation. In terms of how they were created, not entirely sure. I can
Yeah,
try to get that.
I just wanted to chime in there. Maybe John and I mean, we're fairly new in clean energy program, and it's a lot of information already. But as to the design of the program, we don't have a lot of information for that. But be reassured, this is how I like to picture clean energy program. Everyone in New Jersey has an opportunity to become energy efficient and take advantage of clean energy programs, whether you're a resident, and for all non-residents in New Jersey, they also qualify. It doesn't matter your size of building or your energy uses, there's a program designed for you. So we're just here to help you find the right fit for you.
Great, thank you so much. So there was a question about whether there'll be more training for building readers, because older buildings in the cities are very inefficient. Do you have a sense of that?
I don't. I mean, that is a really good point. We're looking to conduct outreach in various areas and targeted campaigns. So I'll make note of that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think that what is it, Jonathan Gordon? Just email either John or I, and we can definitely schedule a workshop or a webinar to how to utilize the programs for these facilities. So yeah.
Thank you. So there was a question about whether direct install will be transferring to utilities and whether a nonprofit can apply again after having received incentive in 2018.
So direct install, to the first question, yes, it will be transferring to the utilities. As far as the program design, can nonprofit apply again after receiving incentive in 2018? I don't want to give an answer to that, but you know, it seems certainly possible, depending on the design of the new direct install program for your utility. Ivelisse, do you have anything you can add on that?
No, I think it's a matter of reach out to us and see where you're at your facility and what other opportunities you might have. If it's not DI, we also have other programs that you can easily utilize SmartStart to do an upgrade on a different type of technology if you don't qualify because you already use the program. So reach out to us and we'll find out the right answer. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm going to preface this with, I know you both are fairly new to the program, so if you don't have the answer to this, that's okay. But do you have a sense of how many governments in New Jersey have used the LGEA, the local government audit program?
I know it's a popular program, and we've recently done another concerted push to get more schools and government entities involved in that. Ivelisse, were you a part of that?
I don't have an actual number. If I knew the question was coming, I would have definitely pulled up the data for you. But yeah, we've had some LGEA campaigns, and we keep getting LGEAs into the pipeline, and we're open for LGEA definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way for, you know, an entity to really see their energy use by system type, and it's really insightful, you know, on the first stepping stone to the path of energy efficiency.
Thank you. Yeah, and sorry to ask you these trivia questions here.
No, these are great questions.
It's fun. Keep them coming.
So do you have a sense, does the clean energy program actually have kind of annual targets for what it wants to meet and how they're doing in terms of meeting some of these targets and in terms of emissions reductions or energy savings?
I don't know if you, John, want to answer.
As far as targets, I mean, we do our best to exhaust the funding that's available for these programs. I don't know for specific targets. Ivelisse, do you have any idea?
Yeah, again, I don't know the exact numbers, but to give you an idea moving forward, within the utility spectrum, they are set to reduce their consumers' energy demand by set percentages over the following years. So there's clear understanding of where we're going. I need to find out more about what our targets are right now. Again, we're just here doing the outreach, and I guess that answers. I don't know.
I can get back to you. These are questions
Yeah.
I don't have the answers to on
Very
hand.
specific.
Okay, so here's one that I don't think has a very specific answer. There's a question about how an employee of a consulting engineering design firm might be able to leverage these programs for potential clients. Do you have a sense of how they could kind of work together?
Yeah, and we've done presentations and discussed our program options with other consulting firms, and the biggest thing is education, understanding the program, understanding the nuances, how to leverage, engineering firms and contracting firms through our program to make these projects happen. A lot of times it's simply education. Companies don't realize, I mean, that's our job, and we do our best to do that. So in any capacity that we can provide information to consulting firms, I think it's a win-win.
Great. Thank you. Kind of switching gears again, so I apologize. So when can the beneficiaries of these programs actually receive the money? Is it something they kind of get upfront, or is it how they, do you get the money kind of after the projects are completed? And how do you ensure that these projects are completed?
So that has different answers, because, for example, before P, you would get a first incentive just by developing that energy reduction plan. So that would be an incentive just for you sitting down and figuring out what is it that you're going to do with your facility and how are you going to move forward. And then obviously after we verify that you actually install what you said you were going to do initially, you'll get that second incentive. For SmartStart, for example, when you purchase the equipment and you install it, or even if you purchase the equipment in the past year, you'll just fill the application and you'll get that check by mail after everything. It's right there in the application, goes through the checklist. You'll get that check mail. Yes. In the next couple of, I guess, what's the time frame, John? If you
2 to 3 months, years.
3 months, yeah. So that's the time frame there for SmartStart. For direct install, for example, the person doesn't have, or the client doesn't have to pay anything until the whole project is done, and it's only that remaining percentage that Clean Energy Program doesn't pay, because the Clean Energy Program will pay upfront, and then it's up to the client to directly pay to the contractor. So there's definitely different variations of that answer of when will we get the money.
Yeah, and I think Ivelisse, you answered that really well. Direct install, what's great is you pay the contractor. P for P is the longest of the bunch, and the reason being is your incentives 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 vary depending on the verified amount of energy savings after the installed measures. So it's good that developing the plan, as Ivelisse said, you get your first incentive, verification of installed measures, second incentive, and then it takes a year to verify what those energy savings are and receive an incentive based upon those verified energy savings.
Harry, I think we have time for maybe one more question.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for clarifying that. That's great. So we had another clarifying question, and someone asked, perhaps we missed this one. On the slides, you mentioned a 2024 deadline on benchmarking on benchmarking. Can you, John, can you explain a little bit about what that means?
I'm going to go back to the slide and make sure.
Oh, okay.
On
No,
benchmark.
yeah, it's there. It's there.
I think, yeah, it's on the, there you go.
Yeah, I'm
I
not,
think-
can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just asking for more clarification in terms of, what is this 2024 deadline? And kind of,
Okay.
yeah.
No, and I think
Evelisse,
it's, I don't have the right answer, but I think that's more in line with Energy Star and just national level of deadlines. I think that's it, yeah.
Right, because this is an Energy Star based
Mhm,
program
mhm.
that, we provide free of charge to, any CNI entity that wants to conduct a benchmarking report. So I think it's within their deadline scheme.
Great. Thank you. That's super helpful. Thank you.
And these have
So-
been great questions.
Well, we have great constituents who love to hear these talks. So, and you folks were wonderful. So on behalf of all of us here at the New Jersey Climate Change Resource Center at Rutgers, we'd really like to once again thank Matt and Ivelisse, John and Ivelisse, sorry about that, for their very informative presentation. We hope everybody will join us for our next Climate Academy. It will be Friday, April 9th at noon. It will focus on the impacts of climate change on coastal forests. So we're taking a little bit of a turn, but that's about a newly released report we've done here at Rutgers. So we thought we'd like to share that with our constituency. So thank you again. This concludes today's event.